Welcome to Surviving the Side Hustle, the show where driven entrepreneurs share the real stories, the real honest struggles, and the hard-won secrets behind performing at their best. I'm your host, Rob Tracy, a personal performance strategist and the founder of TAPS Coaching, where I partner with entrepreneurs to turn real effort into real momentum. Every week, I sit down with an owner-operator who's building something of their own, and we get past the highlight reel to find out what's actually working. Because the truth is, most people don't need more. They need to pay attention to what works for them and do more of that. So whatever you're building, let's stop spinning and start winning. We'll jump into the show right after this. If you're an entrepreneur or owner-operator who's working hard but feeling stuck spinning your wheels instead of building real momentum, I'd love to help. I want to invite you to a free strategy session with one of our performance strategists. We'll help you see what's actually working, what's holding you back, and the clearest next step to get your momentum going again. To claim your free strategy session, head over to survivingthesidehustle.com/free call. Again, that's survivingthesidehustle.com/free call. We'd love to talk to you. And now back to the episode. What's up, guys, and welcome back to another Friday recap. As usual, I'd love to kick it off by asking you guys something. And this week's question is, could your business or project really survive 10 days of you being completely unreachable? Like no phone, no email, no quick little check-ins, totally off the grid. And I ask that because most entrepreneurs can't go 10 hours without their business needing them. They built something that looks like freedom, but functions like a prison. And the whole thing really collapses the second that they step away. Trust me, because that's where I've been and currently taking steps right now to kind of build things to a little more automated and setting stuff up so that others can kind of step in for me. And here's the truth, really. If your business can't run without you, you don't own a business, you just own a job. And you can't ever quit that job. You can't call in sick or take a vacation. And the worst thing of all, your boss is crazy. And today's conversation is going to be a pretty quick one. And I wanted to make sure that we dive back in. So if you haven't checked out this week's guest interview, I encourage you to go back and check it out now. Because this week's guest spent 10 days in the Amazon jungle. He was fully off grid. And while he was doing this, his business ran without him. And the way he built that is something almost any founder can just simply copy. So in case you haven't, check it out. And this week's guest interviewee is Eric Dingler. Eric runs a digital marketing and web design agency, and he runs it while traveling the world full-time with his family. In the last 4 years, he, his wife, and their 4 teenagers have lived in 55 apartments across 20 different countries, all out of carry-on luggage too, by the way. So what's really unique, more unique than that, is about Eric's story. He's not a perpetual vacation influencer. He's working full-time in between those Eiffel Tower photos and whatnot. His wife homeschools the 4 kids at 4 different grade levels. They're on a budget, and the reason any of it works isn't location independence, it's leadership. Before all this, Eric spent 15 years running a summer camp. Every single year, he had to hire, onboard, train, and develop entirely new teams. And then, when camp ended, sit back and ask what worked well and what didn't, and then do it all over again the next year. He didn't realize until recently that those 15 years were 15 laboratories, especially in leadership and team building. And that's the exact skill set that he now teaches entrepreneurs who want to scale without burning out. His agency, by the way, started as a side hustle, a fundraiser to adopt 2 of his kids from Bulgaria debt-free. This episode is about how you turn one person grind into a business that runs without you. And the core framework that I want you to go back and listen through the whole episode is right here. So Eric said something early in the conversation that I think is the master key to everything else. He said, your leadership capacity is the capacity of your business. No part of your life, your business, your finances, your health, your relationships will ever go beyond your capacity to lead. This reminds me a lot of Jim Rohn with the law of personal development. So your professional success will never outpace your personal development. It's a big big factor of what prime performance is kind of built on. So sit with that for a second. It means the ceiling of your business isn't your marketing, your offer, or your industry. The ceiling on your business is you, specifically your ability to lead yourself and then lead others, which is both humbling and liberating. Humbling because it means that you're the bottleneck, but liberating because it means the single highest leverage thing that you can work on isn't another funnel or another tactic. It's growing your own capacity to lead. Raise that ceiling, and then everything else underneath it can finally grow. The whole episode is about how you actually do that, practically, step by step, starting from a team of 0. So the first takeaway that I want you to really internalize is that you're a leader before anyone else is following you. And this is one of the most important reframes of the entire episode. Eric saved a version of it for his closing advice too, which tells you how much he really believes it. Most people think leadership starts with a team when people start to report to you, when you've got the title and the org chart and everything else. But until then, you're just a solo operator doing the work. But Eric flips that completely. He says you have to see yourself as a leader even if you don't have anybody else following you. Because if you wait until you have a team to start developing as a leader, you'll never build a team worth leading. The leadership has to come first. You lead yourself first. And the version of you that's intentionally growing as a leader before the team arrives is the version that's actually ready when it does. And here's what most people miss. Leadership isn't a title that you just receive. It's the capacity that you build. And you start building it the moment when you decide to, whether you're leading 100 people or just yourself. And what makes a good leadership so worth investing in, according to Eric, it's the most transferable skill that there is. He made this point and he said, it's hard to take a skill like web design and use it to make your family life better. Skills like that stay in their lane, but leadership, if you grow as a leader at work, you lead better at home. If you grow as a leader at home, you lead better at work, in your volunteering, and everywhere. Leadership is the one skill that pays off in every single area of your life at once. So if you're a solo entrepreneur right now thinking, hey, I'm not a leader, I don't have anyone to lead, you got to stop. You're leading the most important and most difficult person you'll ever manage, which is yourself. And every bit of capacity you build leading yourself now is the capacity you'll draw on when it's time to lead the other people. And this is pretty much the heart of principle 1 from the prime performance process. The whole framework behind it is the core idea of what Eric is saying. You rise as a leader of others only when you've learned to lead yourself. The foundation is internal, and you can't pour leadership into a team from an empty cup. So build first, and then the business will follow later. Second lesson I want you guys to remember and take away is you want to buy back your time, then guard what you do with it. And this is super insightful and most practical too. So copy it tomorrow, lesson in the whole episode. And I want you to really hear the mechanics behind this. So Eric's very first hire was somebody to take on for 2 hours of work per week. That's it, just 2 hours. And here's the genius moment. The moment he made that hire, he immediately carved out 1 hour a month for what he called his CEO time. Just him, a legal pad, and a cup of coffee. And he spent that time working on the business instead of in it. That 1 hour a month grew into a CEO day. And now leadership is the only thing he does in his company. But the real reason or lesson is what he teaches his students about what to do with the time you buy back. He calls it the 10-10-80. Let's say you hire somebody for 10 hours a week. Here's how you spend the 10 hours that you just freed up. 1 hour is yours. So go to Starbucks or watch Netflix, whatever. That's the benefit of being the owner. But 1 other hour goes to leadership. So you're developing yourself and developing the person you just hired. And the other 8 hours go to revenue generating work. Calling past clients, working the pipeline, the stuff that actually makes you in the business money. And here's the trap that most people get stuck in. They hire someone to take a task off their plate, and then they use that freed up time to go do another task. They just shuffle the busy work around. Eric's whole point is, no. When you buy back 2 hours, you spend those 2 hours making more money, not doing more low-value work. Because here's how Eric reframes the cost of hiring. And it's like a credible way of looking at it. He says hiring isn't about how much it's going to cost you. It's about how much it's costing you not to hire. If you free up 8 hours and spend those on revenue generating work, you'll make back that salary multiple times over within a month. The hire pays for itself. but only if you're disciplined about what you do with the time that it creates. So let me make this real for the side hustlers listening. You don't need to hire a big team. You should probably hire 2 hours. Find the lowest value task eating your week, like the creating flyers or juggling the schedule or cleaning out your inbox, and hand it to someone for a tiny amount of money. Then take that time you just bought and put it directly into the activity that grows your income and not another task. That's how side hustles become real businesses, not in one giant leap, in 2-hour increments reinvested into the things that actually move the needle forward. And this is the exact kind of intentional sequencing that I teach with prime principle number 4 on optimization. The core idea of the framework is that sustainable growth comes from deliberately reinvesting your freed up capacity into the highest value activities, not just filling the time with more motion. Most entrepreneurs stay busy, few are intentional, and Eric's 10-10-80 split is intentionality in action. And the third lesson for you guys is get out of the technician seat. Real estate agents don't build the houses that they sell. And this mindset is what helped Eric take his business to the next level, and is one I think most listeners are quietly stuck in right now. Eric shared advice from a business coach that hit him hard a few years ago. The coach told him, Eric, real estate agents don't build the houses that they sell. And at the time, Eric was still elbow deep in website projects, doing technical work himself, and that one line really helped him reframe everything. Today, he says he hasn't even logged into a client's website in 3 years. The principle is simple, but it's a brutal one. If you stay in the technician role, the person doing the actual production work, your business will be capped forever at the number of hours you personally can work. You'll never scale because you are the product. The only way to grow beyond your own 2 hands is to get out of the technician seat and into the leadership seat. The skill that built your business is often the exact thing keeping it small. You're good at the craft, but staying as the craftsman is what's trapping you at the ceiling of your own capacity. And then Eric told a story that should hit home for a lot of you. I mentioned a friend of mine with a specific business who blew up, special thanks to a TikTok video, and he got flooded with email orders. And he could never get past doing the emails himself because he swore that nobody could respond to customers like he could. So he stayed buried in his inbox instead of doing the actual work that grows the business. Eric's seen it 100 times. So here's the question I want you to sit with. If you're still doing it in your business out of pride or fear or the belief that nobody else can do it as well as you, that's keeping you stuck in the technician instead of freeing up and being a leader. Because the longer you cling to the craft, the longer your business stays exactly the size of you and no bigger. Eric developed his director of web services, Peter, from a guy who barely knew how to log into WordPress, into someone who can build any website imaginable. And that took years of intentional development. But it only happened because Eric was willing to stop being the builder and start being the leader. And the final takeaway I want for you guys to bring home is it's never a people problem. It's a systems problem. This last one is the deepest insight in the episode, and it solves the thing that holds almost everybody back from delegating. The belief that nobody can do it as well as you. Eric said, when people resist delegating, they almost always frame it as a people problem. I can't find anyone good enough. Nobody can do it like I can. However, Eric's response is, that's not a people problem, that's a systems problem. Then he made a distinction that genuinely changed how I think about things. He said people confuse unique knowledge with unique judgment. When you say, I'm the only one who can answer these emails, what you usually mean is, I'm the only one who knows the answers. But knowledge can be transferred. You can put it into a system. What can't always be transferred is the judgment. The specific decisions that genuinely require you as the owner. And those and only those should filter up to you. Eric said, I don't give my assistants the knowledge. I put the knowledge into our system, and then I plug my assistant into the system. That's the whole secret. You don't train a person, you build a system, and then you connect people to it. He used to get 80 emails a day, and it was killing him. Now, he hasn't logged into his email in a long time. His assistant, Emily, handles all of it through a system. And only 2 or 3 emails that genuinely require the owner's judgment ever trickle up to him. The knowledge lives in the system, the people are plugged in. And this is why Eric is obsessed with SOPs. And if you're not familiar, that's the standard operating procedures. His company has over 200 of them. And he even wrote one called How to Make Eric a Cup of Coffee. and then another one on how to create an SOP. Using the coffee SOP as an example, those are the only two he's ever personally written. His team creates all the rest because he's built a culture where documenting the system is just what they do. And here's why this matters for you, even if you're a team of one. Every time you do a repeatable task, you have a choice. You can do it and move on, or you can document it once and turn it into a system and never have to be the only person who knows how to do it again. The entrepreneurs who scale are the ones who turn their knowledge into systems before they hire. So when they do hire, the new person plugs into something that's already working. So a lot of great takeaways here, but the biggest thing I want you to walk away from the episode is the freedom that you're chasing. The time, the location independence, the ability to step away isn't built on working harder. It's built on leadership and systems. Your leadership capacity is the ceiling on your entire business. So you grow that first, starting with leading yourself. Then you buy back your time 2 hours at a time. You guard those 2 hours fiercely, specifically keeping towards revenue and leadership development, not bit more busy work. You get out of the technician seat because the craft that built you will keep you small if you cling to it. And you stop trying to find people who can do it like you, and instead build systems that hold your knowledge so people can plug in and the whole thing runs without you. That's how a guy spent 10 days in the Amazon, fully off grid, while his business keeps running. It's not luck, it's not magic. Leadership and systems built one intentional step at a time. So if you're a founder who wants to make your first hire, or if you're trying to get out of the technician seat and actually start building a business that runs without you, Eric is the guy to learn from. So you can get connected with him over at ericdingler.com. And there are 2 great free resources there. So go to ericdingler.com/first hire to download his first hire readiness checklist, it's called. It helps you figure out what role to hire, what to take off your plate, and includes a list of 25 revenue-generating activities for that time that you're buying back. Or you can actually go to ericdingler.com/call to book a free 25-minute diagnostics call where he'll help you figure out your specific next step, and whether that's hiring or getting ready and planning to hire. So Eric, if you're checking out this recap episode, thank you again for coming on, man. This was seriously a masterclass on scaling and leveling up. So I want to leave you with something that Eric said at the very end of the guest interview because it ties to the whole episode together. He said, see yourself as a leader, even if you're not, or even if you're just leading yourself. Lead better to live better. And he meant it literally, because your leadership capacity isn't just the ceiling. It's the ceiling of your finances, your health, your relationship, and every part of your life. And the way you raise the ceiling isn't complicated. It's by being intentional about what's next for you. Pick up a leadership book, find a leadership podcast, start taking in the content and growing the capacity today before you think you need it. And no part of your life will ever outgrow your ability to lead. So if you want a bigger business, a richer life, a stronger family, don't start by changing the circumstances. Start by becoming a better leader of the one person you can always control, who is yourself. Live better, or lead better to live better, and take one step at a time. And until next week, stay sharp, stay aligned, keep surviving the side hustle. Peace, peace, peace. All right, sweet. That's a wrap on this week's episode of Surviving the Side Hustle. If this conversation gave you something that you can use, would you do me a favor and follow the show? And then please leave a quick rating and review wherever you listen. It genuinely helps more entrepreneurs find these stories, and it helps spread the word of our guests. And if someone came to mind while you were listening, do us both a favor and share the episode their way. You can connect with me and find everything that we mentioned over at survivingthesidehustle.com. Until next time, remember, pay attention to what works for you and then do more of that. That's how you stop spinning and start winning.